Hey everybody, so I'm going to make a couple videos today. They're a little off topic. They're probably a little more general to society more than like pointing people out or anything like that. So I want to talk about racism in the construct of trying to understand it. Now, I'm not a racist person. When I was a kid, I lived in North Miami, and for a period of time, my mom managed Haitian communities down there for some investors, and I was about 6-7 years old, and I would go to work with her, and my dad, my family worked there, and basically I would hang out with these kids, and they were Haitian and whatever, and we always got along. We were kids. So we played soccer, and it was interesting because I think back now, and I don't remember a white person the whole time I would go to work with my mom. And I was thinking, it's probably at least a mile. I was probably the only white kid within a mile hanging out with these Haitian kids, and they were cool. We were kids. Like, it doesn't matter. So I don't really understand racism. So rolling forward, about 6 months ago, I was at a friend's house, and a buddy of his was there, and he was, this guy was racist. I mean racist. I'm talking racist. Like, I heard the N-word I don't know how many times, and I was pretty shocked because I've never met anyone that openly, like, racist. And it was true. So I, instead of getting angry or frustrated, I was curious as to why he had this opinion. And I started to ask him questions about it, and I started to try and understand, because I can't get my mind around it. And as he was talking to me, and I was questioning him, and I was trying to get my point, it came down to he was angry because people who were not qualified were getting jobs based on their race. And they were getting employment even though they weren't qualified based on their race. And I'm thinking to myself, and his statement, the one statement that stuck out to me was, I know people that applied that were more qualified than the person that got hired. And I found it interesting because when we got to the core of it, it wasn't racism. It was inequality. It was the fact that it wasn't fair. And I was like, so you're not angry at them. You're angry at the rules that give them an advantage when you think that all of us should be on the same playing field. We should all be even. And he kind of looked at me and paused and was like, yeah. And I asked him a really interesting question. And my question was, well, did the person that got hired make the law that made the inequality? And he said no. And I said, do you think, I'm going to correct myself. I said, if you had that advantage to get a job, a good job, right? Because that's what we've been taught, right? Get a good job and work hard, and you can have the American dream. So do you think that if you had that advantage, that you would not take that advantage? And he said, no, I would take it. I said, oh, so you're mad at the guy or person that didn't take the advantage, even though you would take it, and you're mad because the advantage exists and you don't have a right to the advantage because it's unfair, unjust, unequal. And he's like, yes. And I said, well then, how are you racist? And he didn't have an answer. That was the weirdest thing. He didn't have an answer. This guy's been racist his whole life, and he didn't have an answer for me. And I thought I was confused, and I was perplexed that when you actually had the conversation and you actually got to the core, he wasn't racist. He was just mad because it wasn't fair. But we're all mad because it's not fair. We're all mad because certain people have advantages, are treated differently, and certain people aren't. So it's not equal. And the people who have advantages are in a better spot than the people who aren't. Whether white, black, red, white, green, purple, blue, yellow, whatever spectrum you want to give it, that's really what it came down to. And I thought it was fascinating, and I thought it was interesting. If I would have never opened up this dialogue with this gentleman, and I would have never examined what the driving mechanism was, I would have never understood. And again, I still can't understand racism because the last I looked, we're all in the same machine and we're all getting grinded up in it. And at what point are we going to look in the stands at the people watching us get grinded up? Because they're the ones making the rules that are getting us and then pointing us at each other to point fingers and fight with each other. When are we going to stop the cockfight of pointing fingers at each other and start looking in the stands at who's really watching the cockfight? So, even though someone says something that may come off as one way, maybe asking them some questions and having a conversation, you might see that it might not be exactly what they're saying. They just haven't realized that what they're saying is maybe close to what you're saying. So, I like justice. I like equality for all. And I think that civil rights are important. And race, creed, religion, whatever, has nothing to do with human dignity. So God bless you guys, and be safe.